Welcome to Arcane Ops, the paranormal, unsolved, true crime conspiracy podcast. If this is your cup of ectoplasm, go to arcaneops.com where you can support us by joining the club and get yourself a t-shirt while you're there. Keep in mind, I'll be posting different content on different platforms, so subscribe, like, comment, share, leave reviews, and all that. If you do, I promise I'll keep posting awesome, bizarre content. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm your host, Nick Van Horn, a cynical, mostly skeptical police detective who's fascinated by the unexplained and bizarre. Let's delve into the mysterious and arcane. Around the turn of the 20th century, there were a lot of mining towns that popped up in Spring Canyon, just west of Helper, Utah. There were a lot of traumatic deaths in and around the mines while they were in operation that have led to a lot of different ghost stories. The most famous of these is the legend of the White Lady. There are several theories about the White Lady's origin, but today we're going to be talking about the top 3. Before we get into it, you can find the show notes for this episode at arcaneops.com/001. Number 3, Nina Grundtvig. In February 1927, Nina Grundtvig's husband, Dan, was killed in an avalanche near Wadis, Utah, leaving her alone with her 3 small children. On October 21, 1927, Nina and her children had a picnic with family and friends at the tennis courts in the mining town of Storrs. To put this into context, the tennis courts are at the top of a 70-foot cliff and were surrounded by a safety fence. Could you see my air quotes around safety fence? The road going up to the tennis courts is winding, narrow, steep, and uneven. At around 4 o'clock, Nina and the kids loaded up to leave. Nina was having a hard time controlling the car in the narrow space. Cars built in the 20s aren't known for their ease of use. She had the kids get out just in case, and just after they got out, Nina started backing up. The car jolted and she lost control. The car went backward through the safety fence and fell 70 feet, crashing into the roof of the bakery at the bottom of the cliff. Nina's children and her friend ran down the hill screaming for help. But when they got there, Nina was dead. Strangely, over the next few years, several other cars went over the cliff, destroying more buildings and stores. Today, the town of Storrs has no buildings and no tennis courts. But a lot of people use the cliff for recreational rappelling, having no idea about all the death at the bottom of the cliff. Over the decades, a lot of people have reported hearing sounds of children screaming for help and seeing a woman in white around the cliff. Allegedly, these occurrences are more prominent around October 21st every year. Number 2, Gloria Leal. 17-year-old Gloria Leal was a serial babysitter for a wealthy family in Helper, Utah. When the parents returned from a night out on October 22nd, 1960, the dad asked Gloria to drive him to work. She did. Rumor has it the mother was suspicious that the husband was having an affair with Gloria, so just after they left, she flew into a jealous rage. She got into her car and she chased them up Spring Canyon Road. She ran them off the road near the Peerless Tipple. Gloria was the only one who died, her head bashed in with a rock. The investigation declared the event an accident, despite the evidence suggesting Gloria's head was bashed in with a rock after the accident occurred. I haven't seen the evidence in this case, but some people believe it was a straight-up murder. Without seeing the official report and crime scene photos, this case remains cold. To this day, a memorial has been maintained at the site of Gloria's death. No one knows who keeps it up. Helper City regularly removes the memorial, but it keeps turning up after 60 years. Gloria's story became a warning to the youth of Spring Canyon not to babysit for the conceited rich folk of Helper. People have reported phantom cars chasing them down the canyon at night all year long. There are also reports of a woman in white standing in the road around the Peerless Tipple, forcing them to swerve. Some have crashed, but I don't know of any fatalities. Like Nina's story, these events allegedly increase in frequency around October 22nd every year. And finally, our number 1 theory for the true origin of the White Lady: an unknown Yugoslav immigrant. Around the turn of the 20th century, mine companies were recruiting a lot of people from Europe with the promise of fame and fortune. There was a large immigration from Yugoslavia to Spring Canyon. According to the legend, a beautiful Yugoslav woman moved to Latuda with her husband and newborn daughter. They were given a house and a decent income. Not long after they arrived, her husband was killed in a collapse. The company reached out and told her the bad news. They told her she had until the end of the day to leave the house since it was the company property and her husband's replacement would need to move in. Her world was shattered. She just learned her husband was dead, she was forced to leave, had no income, couldn't work because she was a woman, and still had to take care of her infant daughter. She went to the mine office and begged them to help her, but they refused. At her wit's end, she took her daughter down to the creek. Without hesitation, she drowned her daughter and left her body in the creek. She went back to the mine office. She walked inside and went straight upstairs. The people working paid no attention to her. A few minutes later, they heard an unusual tapping outside. They went outside and realized the woman's feet were bumping against the column as her body blew in the wind, suspended by her neck from the balcony above. Rumors spread like wildfire, but the company made a huge effort to silence them. There is no official record of any of these events ever happening, and in those days, the company valued horses and mules over their human workers. So no records were kept on the people who worked, lived, and died in the mines or camps. There's no way to know for sure whether or not these events happened. We can only rely on several alleged eyewitness accounts from people who've died that have been passed on through the years. In the 1960s, a young man began running around Helper in Spring Canyon claiming to be the child of this woman. In retribution for his supposed mother, he unloaded a case of dynamite inside the mine office and blew it up, leaving nothing but a burnt stone shell of a building. The man was caught and committed to the state mental hospital. Over the years, he escaped twice, each time returning to the Helper area before being taken back. Eventually, he tied his bed sheet around his neck and jumped out the window of his room, meeting the same end as his supposed mother. There's no record this man was actually this woman's child. It was reported that she had a daughter, and the woman died at least a decade before this man was born. But the story still had a major effect on him. For nearly 100 years since her death, people have reported hearing a woman screaming for her child all along the Spring Canyon Creek. Some have reported seeing a woman in white in the creek and near the Latuda office. While the mines were still in operation, there were several reports of a woman in white appearing at the mine entrances just before a major collapse. Women in the mine were said to be a bad omen. Some believed her appearance caused these collapses. Others believe her appearance served as a warning. Many people heeded the warning and their lives were spared. The White Lady legend has inspired ghost hunters and pranksters. Many young people, myself included, have made a run up Spring Canyon to look for the White Lady or any of the many other reported hauntings. Some people have set mannequins in white dresses up in the road. Some have set up pulleys and clotheslines across the road and shimmied a white dress in front of passing cars. There's no end to the pranks people have pulled to scare their friends of the ghosts of Spring Canyon. So many people have only heard one of these stories and believe all the appearances of the White Lady in Spring Canyon are the same woman. After hearing all three stories, do you think all White Lady appearances are the same person, a combination of the three, or are they just pranksters having fun with people looking for ghosts? October 21st and 22nd are coming up quick. How many of you are going to go looking for them? Before I go, I want to give a shout out to Sue Ann Martell and Darren Tepley, aka Kitty and Bobcat at the Eastern Utah Tourism and History Association for their extensive knowledge and help with finding these stories. If you want to support them or go on a ghost hunting expedition, go to eutha.org. There will also be a link in the notes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next realm. In the meantime, if you want to support Arcane Ops, go to arcaneops.com and sign up, buy merch, any and all those things. Have a topic or story you want to explore on the show? Go to arcaneops.com/topic and fill out the form. If I use your story, I'll make sure everyone knows it came from you, unless anonymity rules are in play. Until next time, keep your eyes open for the mysterious and arcane.